Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience. And I'm going to reward you all by telling you all a little story. It's a true story about something that happened to me in the Spizzwinks not that long ago. You see, we were getting ready to head off on our fabulous summer tour to, among other places, Johannesburg, South Africa. Now, I'm not that smart. I stayed up really late the night before we were supposed to leave playing Twister with my roommate. It was weird. And when I awoke the next morning, I discovered, much to my deep and abiding shame, that the Spizzwinks had left without me. So I did what any of you would have done in my situation. I ran to the nearest airport. It was a long way, but I ran, and I hopped on the first plane I could find, assuming that naturally it would take me from New Haven, Connecticut, to Johannesburg, South Africa. But when I got off that plane, I discovered that much to my shock and horror, I was not on the warm, welcoming, relatively safe streets of Johannesburg, South Africa. No, I was on the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, as some of you may be aware, Cambridge is home to a small, insignificant, unimportant, Gentlemen, please! We're all adults here. It's called Harvard. Ladies, please. Harvard is the finest correctional facility on the East Coast. Now, as I was wandering through those cobbled streets of Cambridge, trying not to run into that famous Harvard alumnus, the Unabomber, I noticed a small crowd beginning to gather. Gather, gather, gather! And off in the distance there was a house on fire! Fire! Flames were leaping everywhere. But that was not the most astonishing thing, nay, for atop that burning building, wreathed in smoke, stood a beautiful Harvard maiden. And she was holding her 6-month-old baby.
Taxi!
And she was screaming, "Help me, somebody save me and my baby!" Well, the crowd thought for a moment. And then the cleverest one among them shouted, "Jump! It's your only chance."
Jump! It's your only chance!
They were a small but well-organized crowd. "Oh no, it's far too far, we'll never make it!" Well, the crowd was pretty exasperated. But, being intrepid souls, they thought for a minute longer. Then, assuming infinitely more uncomfortable positions, they thought for an indefinite period of time. Suddenly, inspiration struck. "Throw the baby," they shouted. "At least we can save the baby."
Throw the baby! At least we can save the baby!
"But who will catch him? He'll splatter on the ground like an egg, or a hefty bag full of chicken broth." Seemingly, all hope was lost. But just then in the nick of that very grim time, there stepped forth from the crowd the amazing, the inimitable, the indomitable, the incomparable, the incontinent Andover Exeter III.
He's so big!
Indeed he was, ladies and gentlemen. And Andy here, Andy was not your average ordinary Harvard schmo. No Surrey Bob, no Ma'am Susan. Andy here was the star wide receiver for the Harvard Crimson football team. And Andy wasn't going to drop that baby, because Andy, a never, a drops, a nothing.
Nope.
Andy warmed up with a few brief but invigorating stretching exercises. And just then a young, buxom Harvard cheerleader stepped forth from the crowd to wish Andy a few words of moral encouragement.
Go, Andy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy was ready. That crowd was ready. And even that tiny little baby in his mother's arms on that burning building, that little baby was ready too. So that young Harvard mother faded back for what was about to become the most important pass of her young, yet tragically unfulfilled life, and she threw that baby. It was a perfect spiral. It went to the right. It went to the left. And then, defying all laws of physics, it went back to the right again. And with a dive, Andy caught the baby. And he was so excited, he spiked. Ladies and gentlemen, every story has an important moral. The moral of this story, that is what happens when you or a loved one goes to Harvard. Thank you very much.